welcome to Rico 12. I'm Justin B., your host and a child of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and a recovering addict living in the miracle of recovery one day at a time. Rico 12 is dedicated to exploring the common threads of addiction, sharing tools, and offering hope from those walking a similar path. We gather from diverse backgrounds, faiths, fellowships, locations, you name it, to serve and support one another. Our speakers come from various fellowships and experiences, demonstrating the universal principles of recovery and how alcoholism demonstrates itself in our lives. This is the Rico 12 speaker meeting number 326. Thank you for joining us live or on the recording later. Today's speaker is Debi S., discussing Step 12. Debi has spoken with us a few times previously and super grateful to have her back today. Before we get to her, first a few quick announcements. Rico 12 offers a variety of recovery resources, including podcasts and social media communities. To visit more or to explore more, visit rico12.com or check the chat and the show notes for links. Rico 12 is self-supporting, and your contributions help us continue this mission. Thank you to all our spearhead donors, past and present, especially this last week to Callie, Heather, and Nika. Your support truly makes a difference. If you'd like to contribute, please visit rico12.com/support. I'll put links in the show notes and the chat for one-time or monthly donation options. Every bit of support, financial or through word of mouth, helps us share these messages of recovery. Each week, we receive light and inspiration from our speakers. Their experiences bring hope, meaning, worth, and growth to us as listeners. Now I'm going to welcome today's guest speaker, Debi S., and share a little bit more about her. Here's Debi's bio. Debi's first meeting was in 1981. Her first sober date was in 1987. Her current and permanent sober date is January 31st of 1994. After a long history of trouble at home, school, and with the law from a very young age, including rehab, detox, jail, DUI, psych ward, diagnoses, medication, etc., Debi finally surrendered. She was dry 3.5 years for the second time and ready to suicide. She reached out for help with more humility and desperation than she'd ever been able to muster, and allowed a recovered member to take her through the big book and the steps. Debi finally had the vital spiritual experience the book talks about, did all of her 9th step amends in a meaningful way, and now lives in step 10 through 12. Take it away, Debi. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Justin. Debi, alcoholic. I'm just setting my timer real quick. Really, really good to be here with you guys. So grateful I get to do this again. And it's just really, really sweet to see some familiar and very special faces on the screen too. So thank you. I really, really appreciate it. It's funny how I don't know. I'm one of those people that like, don't look at me. I don't want, but it's really good to have that love. And I'm all choked up and emotional already. I haven't even opened my mouth. So I'm going to read a little daily reading from October, from October 27th of last year, because I just feel like it touches so much on the 12th step, and it's so dear to my heart. And I've referred back to it a number of times since reading it last year. So I think I'm just going to do that to kind of start us off real quick. I like to do a little something before I start sharing. So this is something that a relatively new friend in the program does every single day in honor of an old timer who's passed on. And I got lucky enough last year to get added to the list. And so this is from October 27th of last year, and it says, "Good morning. Our keynote is persistence. Our reading today tells us, walk all the way with another person and with God. Do not go part of the way. Do not go part of the way and then stop. I need to keep that principle in mind every day. I have always been a flashy sprinter, but have trouble continuing after the new has worn off or something is no longer convenient. I suspect there is little spiritual value in helping people only when it is convenient and I want to do it. Today, I pray that I will persist in seeking to do God's will one stitch at a time and trying to help God's kids, especially when I don't feel like doing either. Perfection is not on the menu for me. I owe my sobriety and life to persistence, and am convinced it is one of the most underrated and underdiscussed spiritual principles. It is by persisting when I am tired, doubtful, fearful, and want to quit that I find God's magic, harmony with my fellows, and success. That's it for me too, Uncle Don. Uncle Don is that person we're doing this in honor of. I just love getting ready to go to the gym. I don't go to the gym. Getting ready is easy. Going is difficult. I have found the golden key is my best tool for staying in the right here, right now. There is no power but God. I am the child of God, filled and surrounded by his perfect peace, by the perfect peace of God. God is love. God is guiding me now. God is with me. Constantly applying the 10 P's: preparation, participation, persistence, praying, prudence, pondering, pausing, perseverance, practice, and patience. This stuff really works. It's a joyful life again. Thank you all for my life. I love it, and I love you all. So thanks for letting me share that. So my name's Debbie, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm not even sure I said that. My sobriety date is January 31st, 1994. I said the right sobriety date once I said the wrong one. I'm just going to, I know 25 minutes is going to go really, really fast, but I'm just going to share like a couple of paragraphs from the big book on 12, and then like a page and a half. I'm a pretty fast reader on step 12 and the 12 and 12. And I got to tell you guys, I am a real big book girl. Like that is my favorite. I love all literature, but I stay pretty close to the big book. But I read something in the 12 and 12 this morning, and it just blew me away. So I just want to share that real quick, and then I'll share a little bit of my experience until we're out of time. So reading from the big book on page 89, the very start of chapter 7, working with others, these first couple of paragraphs: practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry this message to other alcoholics. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. Remember, they are very ill. Life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. And man, that is jam-packed with so much meaning for me. And I just want to touch on a couple of quick things. It really jumps out at me. Nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work, not casual work, not occasional work, but intensive work with other alcoholics. And it says, carry this message, not your message, not, not the current popular, but this message to other alcoholics. And then it says, you can help when no one else can. And, for years and years and years, I read that and I just heard I could help because I'm an alcoholic. I can help because I'm another alcoholic. But for some reason, a few years ago, sitting in a book study, it hit me like a ton of bricks that it says, you, like Debbie Smith, you can help where no one else can. Like sometimes I'm the only voice someone can hear, just like, there were so many people that I believe today tried to help me before my sponsor, that I could finally hear my sponsor. And I really believe that, not just about myself, but about all of us. There is going to come a time where you are the only one that can help someone. And that's part of why it's so critical that we be willing to do that, And then when it talks about, life, taking on new meaning and watching people recover and, seeing the lights come back on, as we often say, and, seeing people come back to life. And man, there is nothing else like that. There's nothing else like that. And I love that it says, this is an experience you must not miss. It's not suggesting this might be a good thing to do. I mean, sometimes I hear people talk about, well, you can be of service in other ways. You can be of service to meetings, and you can be up in the, can't even think of those words right now, but there are other ways of being of service, but they are not sponsorship. And what it says regarding sponsorship is that is an experience you must not miss. And I really, really love that. And then the 12 and 12, in step 12, I'm just going to read the first page and a half. It says, step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. The joy of living is the theme of AA's 12th step, and action is its key word. Here we turn outward toward our fellow alcoholics who are still in distress. Here we experience the kind of giving that asks no rewards. Here we begin to practice all 12 steps of the program in our daily lives so that we and those about us may find emotional sobriety. When the 12th step is seen in its full implication, it is really talking about the kind of love that has no price tag on it. Our 12th step also says that as a result of practicing all the steps, we have each found something called a spiritual awakening. To new AAs, this often seems like a very dubious and improbable state of affairs. What do you mean when you talk about a spiritual awakening, they ask. Maybe there are as many definitions of spiritual awakening as there are people who have had them, but certainly each genuine one has something in common with all the others. And these things which they have in common are not too hard to understand. When a man or a woman has a spiritual awakening, the most important meaning of it is that he has now become able to do, feel, and believe that which he could not do before on his unaided strength and resources alone. He has been granted a gift which amounts to a new state of consciousness and being. He has been set on a path which tells him he is really going somewhere, that life is not a dead end, not something to be endured or mastered. In a very real sense, he has been transformed. Because he has laid hold of a source of strength, which in one way or another he has hitherto denied himself. He finds himself in possession of a degree of honesty, tolerance, unselfishness, peace of mind, and love of which he had thought himself quite incapable. What he has received is a free gift, and yet usually, at least in some small part, he has made himself ready to receive it. AA's manner of making ready to receive this gift lies in the practice of the 12 steps of our program. So I just really, really loved all of that and was super touched by it. I feel like I share a lot just kind of one-on-one when I, have an opportunity to talk with people. I am having a really meaningful experience, like sort of ongoing experience with the 12 step that is just like not just touching my heart and, causing shifts in consciousness, but sometimes just feels like ripping out my soul and in a good way, it has just really been kind of blowing me away. And what I've been realizing more than anything, and feel like I hear myself sharing, is this, it's like I finally had this, it feels like a revelation. That's probably not the right word, but it's like 12 is the purpose of the program. Like the whole deal, like it's the purpose of the whole deal. The first 11 steps position me for 12. That's it. Like, I used to think I was doing all this work so I could get better and have a better life. And, God knows I have gotten better and God knows I have a better life, but that's not what this is about. And it has taken me a very, very, very long time and a great deal of experience to realize that, and maybe accept that. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I am so grateful today to understand, um, to, you know, to understand the assignment and to have finally accepted it, because I really do believe with everything inside of me. Not believe's not even the right word. Like, I know today that this is my purpose, that this is what I'm here to do. This is what God saved me for. Like, this is it. And God, there was something else I was going to say about that oh, and another thing that I think I meant to say, started to say earlier is, you know, it's kind of laughable. It almost feels a bit like embarrassing, but I think I was like, I'm 31 years sober now. I think I was 29 when I realized this, so it took a little while that that the birth of Alcoholics Anonymous, like the date of the birth of our program, is Dr. Bob's sobriety date, not Bill's. I miss that completely. And there's the meaning behind that for me is that, I mean, I don't even know how to talk about it. It's the birth of our program was the first time someone tried to help the next man, the first time the message was carried to the next guy. And that's what this thing is. And that's what I get to be a part of. And that's what my life is built on today, is just trying to help the next man. The other thing that I've heard a lot lately is, thank God it's my job to thank God it's my job to carry the message, not ensure it's received, because it doesn't, thank God. But it is my job. It is my absolute, it is my duty. It is my, there's another word I frequently use that rings true for me that I can't seem to bring up right now. But, the book talks about it being a great honor and privilege. And I can't seem to think of the words in the book either. But it talks about it quite beautifully and sort of eloquently. And it just all is just like jam packed, rich with meaning today in ways that were just lost on me for years and years and years, years and years and years. And I read something recently, and I wish I had access to it. I don't. I'm not going to try to find it, but I think it was written by Bill, and it's the essence of it. I'm going to slaughter the exact language, but the essence was that that there are a lot of people that come to AA and get sober and, kind of make some changes or have some things happen for them around that. And show up and do a few things. And he's, it was very well written. And then he said something like, and they're good AAers. They're good AAers. They're all good AAers. But then he said, there's this small segment that wants more. There's this small segment that wants so much more. And it ends up being this thing that, there's that small segment that just longs for something, so much bigger and so much more. And some of those find it. And then they carry that message, And there was something about reading it that made me feel like, and I hope this doesn't sound bad, but it made me feel like I might be one of those, and like how incredibly grateful I felt to think that I might be one of those, that I've had that experience. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Finally. Because I've been around a long time, and I've known a lot of people in the program, and I've known a lot of people with time, even with significantly more time than myself. And we're not all having the same experience. We're just not. We're not all having the same experience. And I can't say enough about how grateful I am to be having the one I am, and to be able to pass that on every chance I get to anyone who'll have it. And I'm so scattered and all over the place. It's gonna be interesting listening to this later. But I took a couple of notes just in case I panicked, and I think it's screwing me up because anytime I peek at anything, I'm just better off not doing that. But there was a couple of things I didn't want to forget, and so when I peek, then my brain like shorts out. But I did want to be sure to say, and it's probably not going to fit beautifully in my share, but there's this speaker, Bill Cleveland, who's been around a long time. Can't remember exactly how long sober he is, but he's ahead of me, and he's just one of my favorite speakers. Oh, it's okay. I used his full last name, but he's just one of my favorite speakers, and I really, really love him, really, really love him, and really, really respect him, and have had more than one private, intimate, one-on-one conversations, and he has this like sort of presence that can at times come across almost like kind of a tough, crotchety old timer. I don't think he really is, but he can kind of come across that way just a little bit sometimes. And I think maybe because of that, I was more touched by this than ever. Because one time he said in his share that, and he said it just like this. He said, nothing has helped me. No, not helped. He said, nothing has healed me more than trying to help you. Nothing has healed me more than trying to help you. And I don't know why, but every cell in my body heard that when he said that and felt that when he said that. And that is my truth. That is my truth. Like nothing has healed me more than trying to help you. And, I did so much, dare I say, my sponsor would tell you the same thing. Good work in the steps. I mean, good work. I remember my first real sponsor who was hard as nails telling me I was a good AA'er. I I've never heard her say that to anybody before. I'm sure she has, but I mean, she's not full of compliments to say the least. And she'd never paid me a compliment. And that for me is like the highest compliment I could possibly be paid, if compliment's even the right word. But I'll never forget her telling me that I'm a good AA'er. And what was I saying? I said that to say, oh my goodness. I said that to say something. And I got caught up in the moment about that memory with Sandy.
Nothing has healed me more than trying to help you.
And Sandy said I was a good AA'er. And I'd said thank you so much. I'd said I'd done really good work. And clearly was freed up by that. And, in many, many ways, many levels, healed by that in many ways, many levels I didn't even know. But, there has been something about 12, deep into 12, years into carrying the message every chance I get, and so many what appeared to be failures, so many frustrations, so much heartache. So, just, many, I mean, it almost feels like a million different journeys, just within that journey of the 12th step. And somehow recently it's really, really dawning on me that this is where the real work is. Period. Always has been, always will be. I did have to do that work in order to be capable of this work, in order to be positioned, and hopefully well positioned. But that's all it was. Like, this is the work. This is the work. 12. That's it. And that is like, I don't know. It seems like a monumental revelation, it's crazy to me how very, very simple this program is. And how, we often joke about how complicated we are, at least our brains are. It's very hard for me to allow things to be that simple sometimes, and I'm really beginning to give myself over to that, and appreciate that and even welcome that, like it's beginning, like something has really changed for me. Something is really continuing to shift around that. And I'm extremely grateful that the program is just, my grand sponsor used to refer to things as kindergarten style, like I think of it as just, I was in education for a long, long time. So I think of it as like very elementary or even ABC, and that's all someone like me needs, like I think I'm so smart, but all I need is that very basic, simple, to me, the most gorgeous, beautiful, meaningful things, in the world are the most simple. And I'm really, 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 uh, I don't know, just getting in touch with that more than ever. And I have like 2 minutes. So I'm trying to think if there's anything, I want to be sure. Well, you know what? Being that this is on 12, I do want to be sure to say, my name and number is on the screen for those of you that are here. I know Justin can get people in touch for anyone who's not, but my name and number is right there on the screen in my square. I'm in Orange County in the heart of Southern California, so I'm in Pacific Standard Time. I would be super, super, super happy to speak with anyone, anytime. If for any reason you'd like to reach out, if there's just, anything at all, I might be able to do to help. I'd be super, super happy to, and really, really honored to. Love, love, love taking calls. I got sick a few years ago and ended up having to go out on like a very early disability retirement. So I'm not working anymore. And this is what I do. Oh, and I will say this one last thing because that brings it to mind. This is probably kind of a little funny side thing, but it's really working on my consciousness too. The last few years of my work life in particular, it wasn't just the last few years, but the last few years of my work life in particular, before I really got sick, or at least before I knew I was sick, I had some thoughts and feelings and stuff going on inside around like that kind of longing that reading I was talking about referred to, that I just wanted to be able to give everything to this. Like I just wanted to be able to do more of this. As much as I loved my job and loved the kind of work I got to do there, and there are a lot of things in my life that meant something to me, nothing meant as much as this. And even my job that I love so much was beginning to feel like it was in the way of this. It just was the weirdest thing. And I began to have some stronger thoughts and feelings around that. And even kind of, because I have the brain that I have, even kind of not tried, even kind of started contemplating, like just wanting to be done and almost trying to connive and figure out some way that could happen. And it wasn't long after that I got sick. Wasn't long after that I got so sick I couldn't work. It wasn't so long after that my work life ended, probably forever. And at 54, I got to give everything to this. And I am so grateful for that. And I don't know, it's just amazing to me, how this thing works. And yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie, and I really appreciate you going through that last couple of minutes with me. I've also had that thought, man, I wish I could give everything I had to this work in one way or another, and that's just not the way it is. And I want to ask you this first question I have for you before I go to other questions: is it worth it to sacrifice your work life and a semblance of your health because you got sick to be able to do this in order to carry this message the way you're doing it?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Like, no question about it, no hesitation. And it was scary. Like at first, it looked worse than it's ended up being. It looked life threatening and extremely progressive. It looked really bad. And there were some times that were, in fact, quite awful. And I was bedridden for almost a year. I had to learn how to walk again in a pool. Um, I have been in the kind of I'm pretty tough. Like I'm one of us. I'm pretty tough. I can tolerate a ridiculous amount of pain. And I was dealing with a kind of chronic pain that I nearly could not could not get through because I don't take drugs ever for anything. And it was just about unbearable. And you know what? Honest to God, honest to God, it was absolutely worth it. I have come to see the whole thing as such an incredible blessing. I can't even tell you. Yeah.
Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M and me, Justin B, on Rico 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M, streaming now on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you for sharing that, Debi. That's so powerful and such a, well, it just makes me honor and respect you that much more, and I appreciate that. And I know you don't want to take that honor and respect. You reflect that to other sources, but that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. To our live audience here, if you have a question for Debi, please type it in the chat. If you want to remain anonymous, if you don't want me to read your first name with the question, direct message it to me. And as Debi mentioned earlier, her name and number are here on her screen. But for those listening that aren't live, if you want to get a hold of Debi, email me at rico12pod@gmail.com. You'll find that link in the show notes of the podcast, and I'll have it up here in the chat of the meeting also, so you can get a hold of. I can connect you with her to maintain a semblance of anonymity in electronic media. So, Debi, next question I have for you. I love how you went through this process and you said, I'm 31 years in and I'm having these new realizations that are game changing this far in, and you're sharing those with us. But what do you say to the person, who's been in the room 5 years, they're sober, they're feeling healed, they're experiencing the promises and everything that's going on, and they're like, you know what? I think I'm good. I'm healed. I can step away from the rooms and step away from this day-to-day stuff. What do you have to say to a person like that?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. It brought back a vivid memory of myself turning 10. And boy, did it feel very big girlish. Like I really kind of thought I had arrived. And a decade, double digits. I mean, I don't know. I mean, and I never, I mean, I'm sure, the way we see ourselves is not always very accurate, but I don't think anyone would suggest that I was one of our like worst egomaniacs, like at least not on the outside. I didn't appear to be that type, but certainly there was a lot of ego in that, a lot of ego in that. And I really, like I said, I'd done some really good work. I'd done some really hard work. And my life was so much better, like so much better. I mean, I think by the time I was 10, I'm not 1,000% on this, but I think by the time I was 10, well, I know I had the job that, I ended up sort of making a career of 27 years in high school special education. I had become a first-time homeowner. I'm a person who lived in the YMCA and I became a first-time homeowner. So, and and probably a whole bunch of other things that I can't, smaller things that I can't think of on the outside. I went back to school, but I don't think I was done then. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'd even gone back to school yet. I definitely had not finished yet. But some big, big, big things had happened in my life. And I really did kind of feel like this is enough. Like, this is okay. This is enough. I'm good. And it was very much because I didn't want to do any more work. Very much. There's no question about that. And all I can tell you is at 12, I crashed and burned here like I have never done before or since, in a way that taught me a lot, really, really, really got my attention. And from that time on, it allowed me to see the truth about that. And from that point forward, I got that was not on the menu. I got that I could not do that. That was not going to work. And what so thank God I have shown up and continued to, to do more and to give more and to, to dig deeper. And what has, like, the result of that has been, there are still some things on the outside that continued to happen that were really, really great. Really, really great. I don't want to like diminish that. But what was far more important than that is what happened with my insides. I had no idea that I was like still as crippled as I was until I was as healed as I, got to be. And if that makes sense, and continue to be like, I'm continuing to be healed at depths I didn't even know existed. Like, I mean, someone used to joke, I've something at levels I didn't even know I had levels. It's like that. And so what I tell people is, in part, I sometimes share that story. But in part, what I tell people is that there is always, 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 always so much more, so much more. And you do not want to miss it. And most important for people like us, I think, is there is no just staying right here. It's not possible. You're either moving forward or moving backwards. And there's a like kind of a poem that someone wrote many, many years ago called Grow or Go. And that kind of says it all, I think.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I'll put a link to the Grow or Go poem in the show notes of the podcast. So if anybody goes and looks up that once the podcast comes out later today, you'll be able to link to that so you can find that. All right. So, Debi, another question that, I mean, I loved how you went into, and I did not have my step 12 marked up like this in the 12 and 12 before you started reading that. But that paragraph that talks um, about the things that the alcoholic has been granted is just powerful to me. And as I read through this, been granted a gift which amounts to a new state of consciousness and being. He's been set on a path. All of these different lines on and that. Talk to us a little bit about why that reading stuck out to you this morning as you were going through your step 12 stuff this morning. Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform.
So sorry, I had a little cough. Yeah, So, oh God, what did you just read? Okay, sorry, my poor brain. Um, Part of my illness is affecting my processing. And that's probably quite clear, but yeah, part of my illness is affecting my processing, but that's okay because I can still be useful. Um, so I think why it's so very meaningful, or part of why it's so very meaningful to me, is that you know, the one of the best sort of definitions I've ever heard of a spiritual awakening, or actually, I think it was actually the vital spiritual experience the big book talks about, is a complete transformation of mind and spirit. And, I used to say that that's what I've had, and that could be said, with integrity, but I'm beginning to realize and kind of correct myself. It's what I'm having, it's what I'm experiencing. It's ongoing. Like it's limitless. God is limitless. And just in the last few years, that's been a definition that I've kind of operated off of for a long, long time, even though maybe it didn't mean as much to me. But more recently, I've thought of it also as rebirth, being reborn. And the book talks about that. The book talks about being reborn. The book talks about being restored to sanity. I have just in the last couple of years come to wonder or ponder or consider that that could be likened to being restored to sanity, could be likened to being restored to my birthright, which could be reborn, rebirth. And I totally understand that, in the rooms we're very, very cautious about religion because, for a million reasons, very, very, very good, important reasons, including that there are so many different religions that are just extremely important to individuals in the rooms. But it's okay to just share, my experiences as one person, having this experience. And what I can tell you is, and this is probably my best answer to your question, Justin, is I got here convinced, and I mean truly, completely convinced that I didn't believe in God, and pretty convicted about it too, like really, really not interested in having that change. At least that was like, I believe that. I believe that. Today, I understand big lie, big fat lie, never true. Never true. Never, ever, ever true. Just like the big book says, it's always there deep down inside, always. And I don't know if I'm just such of the slow variety, I don't know. But in my late 20s, I have begun to have an experience around that. And today even just I would say maybe in the last 5 years, and even just in the last 2 years, and some things even just in the last year, they just like they keep shifting, they keep shifting just a little bit more. And every now and then it feels like a lot more, and all of a sudden it's just crystal clear to me that I have been plucked out of the depths of hell and given what appears to be and feels like a brand new life. And that's God. And that's what this is. Like this whole thing, whatever that means to you, whoever that, whoever, whatever, it's God. And I really am, I've said this to sponsees that were really, really struggling. And like it caused me pain just to watch them, And I'd try to tell him, like, he loves you. He loves you, like he's just like all you have to do is just give up, let go, and I hear myself saying, God, I finally realized God just wants me to like fall into his arms. He just wants me to like fall into his arms. And today I'm doing that. I am most of the time, and only because of me, of course, when this is not my, experience, but most of the time I am living in his arms. And that's what it is for me today. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Debbie. That takes me to one of the final paragraphs in the first 164 pages of the big book, we realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. And I think that's where we're at. Whether I'm in my 12th year in the rooms, you're in your 31st year, actually more than that, I think, 31st year of sobriety, in the rooms, and God is constantly disclosing more to you and to us. And I find that encouraging and at the same time sometimes frustrating that, what, I want to know what Debi, I want to experience and not just hear in words what Debi has experienced now 31 years in. I want to know that right now and have it as a working knowledge, but I'm not ready for it. And what is your experience with that phrase, God will constantly disclose more to you and to us?
Yeah, it's a powerful and profound truth, and it is, if anything, understated, not overstated. And I love that it says constantly, constantly disclose. I love the word disclose too. Like it, it's there. It's there. It's almost like, and this is me thinking too. I don't know. But I just, sometimes I have like kind of the sneaking suspicion that God is so, like gracious and patient, and, that maybe he's just sort of given me what I can handle when I can handle it, because he is constantly disclosing. And, sometimes with me, at least, it's very, very, very on where I got hiccups from. Very, very, very slow and subtle, very, very, very. I mean, I joke a lot that I am definitely, the big talks about sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. I'm definitely one of the slowly. But every now and then it just, even though it's been, 20 years, 30 years, whatever, it feels like this monumental, hit me like a ton of bricks, right? Because you're experiencing it as far as you can tell, you're experiencing it right here, right now. But yeah, God is constantly disclosing more to me. And the way that he seems to do it most is in the 12th step. And I was just sharing with my sponsor the other day in a little text message. I try not to text very much. I don't like texting very much. But now that I spend all these hours in the clinic multiple times a week, sometimes I'm learning how to text, and I'm texting with people. And I was texting with my sponsor, and he said something to me that so touched my heart. And I said something to him and thanked him so much for everything that he shares with me. I have a male sponsor today. That's the other thing I meant to share. I was raised men with men, women with women, period. And especially with all the sex stuff I had going on, leave them alone, is what I was told. And today I have a male sponsor. Today, I have 5 people that I'm currently taking through the work. 3 of them are men. Only 2 of them are women. It's like, it's crazy to me. So that's changed. I would have never expected that to be. And when I was having this exchange with my sponsor that I was so like touched by and moved by and kind of choked up over, I said in text something like it almost feels like I'm being like further healed one lost soul at a time. When I have these people come into my life that are hurting and scared and, flailing, just like I was, just flailing, and lost and terrified and convinced, I was convinced I was garbage. I was convinced I was way beyond any kind of redemption. And when you know what that's like, you can feel it in another person. Even if they can't admit it to themselves, you can feel it in another person. And I don't remember what the question was.
That is perfect. That is perfect. I think that was beautiful. And I want to ask a question based on what you just shared. You talked about you were raised men with men, women with women in the program, and especially with all the sex issues you said you dealt with and deal with in that. When did you come to the conclusion? When was it revealed to you? When was it disclosed to you that it was okay to work with men? And how did that process work out? Hey, Rico 12 Spearheads. If our recovery resources have helped you, please consider a donation. Your financial support, as well as your word of mouth support, keeps Rico 12 running and reaching the man who is still sick. Donate today at rico12.com/support or check the show notes for PayPal and Venmo links. Every contribution helps carry the message. Thanks for being a Rico 12 Spearhead.
That was just maybe 2 years ago. And I don't even think I'd had a male sponsor yet. I had been kind of coming to the conclusion that maybe I was old enough, mature enough, sober enough, sane and sober enough that that would be okay as long as, it was the same on their side. But I don't think I'd actually had one yet. Like there's something had been kind of working on me around that. Like I was being challenged to reconsider the black and white, absolutely not, never, ever, ever, idea of that. I don't remember if the sponsee came first or the sponsor came first, but I do remember the first of each, particularly the sponsee. And it was someone in another part of the world who just touched my heart. They just shared that they were really, really, really having a heck of a time, that they were in a part of the world and a place within that part of the world where there wasn't a whole lot of recovery and AA and they just said they were really, really desperate and needed some help. And I just thought, well, I'm going to see if I can help. I can't remember if I think what I did is I first turned to my male contacts. If I'm not mistaken, I first turned to my male contacts. And because for whatever reason, I didn't get anywhere with that, I thought, well, then I'm going to try, I'm going to try. And I think that's how it started. And I think for me, what happened slowly but surely over time is I just realized that it was okay, that it was okay, that they were safe from me today. And that if there was anything going on for them, I'd know it. And I'd be able, there was one young man who had that pervy older woman thing, and that was not going to work. So that had to end. And other than that, it's just been beautiful. I'm 57. I'm beginning to be an old woman, and I tend to get young men. But I have one guy right now one man right now who's in his mid 40s, and it seems to be working just fine too. And I have a male sponsor currently, and I've had one previously.
Thank you for walking through that. I don't know if that's, I think that's something that needs to be addressed on a case-by-case basis and not just a universal thing. And I think your experience kind of shares with that too. And I appreciate you walking through that. So Debi, I before we start wrapping this up, I want to get your little bit deeper dive into this. The first 11 culminate in the 12th step. The 12th step is the reason for all of the previous 11. Talk to us just a little bit more about how you came to that conclusion and why that's so vital to your current recovery walk.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm very literal and anal. I'm not sure I know how to directly answer the how did I come to it, but I can tell you that I've had a lot of experience with they call it something in the program and I can't seem to think of it right. Is it two-stepping where you just, and there's also, people will have, whatever sort of superficial or surfacey experience around some of the steps, maybe even all of the steps in, some version of the steps that they've, been exposed to. And then they'll just start sponsoring people. And some people In fact, it seems many people in the rooms see sponsorship more as kind of befriending someone and taking them under their wing and introducing them to other members and introducing them to meetings and maybe encouraging them to get a commitment and maybe encouraging them to go to meetings. And all of that is great. But in my head and heart, not sponsorship, not sponsorship at all. That's just fellowship. That's just friendship. That's just, that's not sponsorship. And so I have some experience with thinking, I I like the idea of being the sponsor. I don't like the idea of being the sponsee, or I haven't for most of my life, including most of my sobriety, because it's a devastating blow to my ego. I've spent my whole life thinking I didn't need anyone or anything. And like I said, I think I'm smart. I think I know, I think I'm quite capable. And so, yeah, so sponsorship is pretty tough that way. And I meant to share that during my share that sponsorship was such a devastating blow to my ego that it was pretty sketchy. It was pretty sketchy. I used to sit across the table from my sponsor, picturing going over at her because she would say things to me that I didn't like. And but anyways, please, brain, back to the question. Regarding oh no, help me please, sorry.
Yeah, so just the culmination of why all the first 11 become the 12, coming to the 12.
Was I saying though? Well, anyways, I think a big, I know I was talking about how sometimes I just think it's become increasingly more clear to me that I only can be as helpful as I can be today because of that work. Like that concept of, we can only pass on something we've been given, like we can only, offer something we have to offer. That has taken on much deeper meaning to me. Like I have just really gotten that all of a sudden. I don't know why, but it just like I really, really get it. And every now and then I connect with people who I really love and respect and enjoy connecting with. And I think maybe sometimes just because I have a little more time, sometimes a lot more time in certain circles, people kind of reach out to me and pick my brain a little bit about sponsorship. And sometimes because they're trying to sponsor and, and I think I'm just so grateful that I had such strong sponsorship myself through all of those 11 steps, or I just wouldn't, I'm not answering this very well at all. It just seems really, really clear to me that if I've not been taken through them rather than doing what I think I know to do, been taken through them by a recovered member who is taking me through them as they have been taken through them that led to their recovery. And doing so no matter, their way, because that's what it always looks like to me, their way, no matter what I think I've already done or think I know, and made all of my ninth step amends in a really, really meaningful way, which I really believe, based on my just experience since 1981. I shouldn't say believe, it just, in my experience from 1981, from my, it just appears that an awful lot of us don't do that. An awful lot of us don't do that. And thank God I was taught very, very, very strongly that, that I needed to make all of them. And then living in 10 through 12, living in, all three parts of 11, all three parts of 12. I don't know. I'm not sure I know how to answer that question, but it's just become more and more crystal clear to me that it's so vital to have that experience to work with. Even though 12 is where it's at, you can't skip over an ounce of that and do 12 justice, I guess, is what I feel like I'm being taught.
No, I think you answered it and brought it together and tied it up really nicely. In fact, I think we'll close up the meeting now here with this. Thank you so much, Debi. Really appreciate your share, your willingness to share. and your message. It's powerful, and I think it inspires me, and I'm sure many others out there that will hear this. So if we missed your question out here in the live audience, or anybody in the recorded audience, if you'd like to ask a question, please consider joining our WhatsApp community or email me at rico12pod@gmail.com, and we'll get you connected and answer those questions that you may have. And if you haven't already done so, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. It's a powerful way to work Step 12 and share recovery with others. Next Friday, we're going to hear from a first-time Rico 12 speaker, Dave H., whose topic will be the gift of being single and sober. So stay updated on via WhatsApp or on our email list, and come join with us next week. Now, let's wrap up with a version of Dr. Bob's third step prayer that Debbie's going to say for us as she launches us out of here.
Thank you again. So this is a version of Dr. Bob's third step prayer that I've only recently, or at least I don't remember coming across it before, and really, really fallen in love with it. It's just a little bit long, but it's really, really special. So it says, "Dear God, I'm sorry about the mess I've made of my life. I want to turn away from all the wrong things I've ever done and all the wrong things I've ever been. Please forgive me for it all. I know you have the power to change my life and can turn me into a winner." That always cracks me up. Thank you, God, for getting my attention long enough to interest me in trying it your way. God, please take over the management of my life and everything about me. I am making this conscious decision to turn my will and my life over to your care, and am asking you to please take over all parts of my life. Please, God, move into my heart. However you do it is your business, but make yourself real inside me and fill my awful emptiness. Fill me with your love and Holy Spirit and make me know your will for me. And now, God, help yourself to me and keep on doing it. I'm not sure I want you to, but do it anyhow. I rejoice that I am now a part of your people, that my uncertainty is gone forever, and that you now have control of my will and my life. Thank you, and I praise your name. Amen.
Amen. That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much, Debbie. And everybody, remember, there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Keep coming back, and when you do, come all the way in, sit all the way down, and once you get through those first 11, work 12. Give back. The work is great. The laborers are few. We need more and more of us out here that are giving back. Let's trudge this road of happy destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.
Standing still a moment, carving out this time, reflecting on the landscape of this life of mine. Peaks too high to conquer, streams too wide to cross, troughs too deep to walk through without incurring loss. Yet here I am, still standing tall, despite the rough terrain. One like me survived the storms and walked through wind and rain. Still standing, I will fight the good fight, still searching for glimmers of light, feet still on the ground. I can still be found, standing still.
My wings are torn and tattered, but I know I still can fly. I may not soar unfettered, I may not rise too high.
Recorded in the book of life and bind it with the seal.